I'm a huge fan of the latest Grand Theft Auto trilogy, starting with Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 3, Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 4, and Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 5. We also got Red Dead too, so there's that. There's been a bunch of stories this week about Rockstar releasing Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 5 on November 11th, and that's an interesting story in itself, talking about the PS5 iteration of that game and what it actually brings to Series X and PS5. But I think what's a more interesting conversation is, what does this actually mean for GTA 6? We're never gonna get GTA 6, are we? It's just not gonna happen. When's GTA 5 coming to the Ouya? I be thinking that I'm famous. I remember when I prayed for this. No sleep cause I'm This past week, GameStop reported that Grand Theft Auto 5 is launching on the PlayStation 5 and Series X consoles on November 11th, which I guess not crazy in itself. We knew that it was coming to the next-gen consoles because they announced it way back when the PlayStation 5 was initially revealed. That was actually how they opened the PS5 reveal, you guys might remember, which was a really weird way of doing it. But they announced that a free upgrade would be coming to PlayStation 5. I believe it's like if you've got PlayStation Plus or something, you'll be given it for free, I think was the deal. And GameSpot's now reporting this as November 11th is the rumored date. Oh wait, sorry, I've just reread this. It says Grand Theft Auto Online will also release on the same day, with GTA Online being free for 3 months for PlayStation Plus users. So you get free access to with GTA Online. But who knows how deep the features go. All we've got here is the new generation versions of GTA 5 will feature a range of technical improvements, visual upgrades, and performance enhancements to take full advantage of the latest hardware, making the games more beautiful and more responsive, Rockstar has said. But we don't know what this means in terms of what their full package looks like. Will it have additional DLC and content? Will there be some new online content? Will it just be the same game that we've already played for the past 12 years at this point? Or will it be something new? So I guess time will tell with that, and we'll get more information about that one at some stage. They're also celebrating the 20th anniversary of GTA 3 at the moment as well. So there's some stuff in the works for that, obviously. Rockstar have teased a number of times that there is some GTA 3 content potentially coming to Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, but we don't know for certain yet. What I thought was more interesting to talk about is Grand Theft Auto 6 and what this actually means for GTA 6. Obviously, this cycle of game development is unusual. Grand Theft Auto normally releases every other or every few years is how it was done up until GTA 5. Rockstar actually were releasing games annually on the PlayStation 3, I believe, with the likes of Red Dead, Mad Max, LA Noire, all the way up until Grand Theft Auto 5. I believe they had annualized releases and launches of games, which is why it was really weird when they just stopped making games for the PlayStation 3 after GTA 5 and then the PlayStation 4. It's not completely crazy to understand why they've done it. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 5 makes them so much money. Playing GTA Online and people using microcurrency on GTA Online, having that enormous player base, playing their game still in 2021, despite it being so old, is probably making Rockstar more money than a lot of AAA games that are releasing today. I would even wager that Rockstar's making more money from Grand Theft Auto Online, a game that came out 12 years ago now, than some of the biggest publishers. Mass Effect trilogy that released last week, I bet you Rockstar made more money last week than they did on that game. And Mass Effect's a massive game as well, but I think it just shows the power of Grand Theft Auto Online. I'm not even pulling numbers to back up that data, I'm just making that claim because I believe it that firmly. Actually, get out of here. So when do we think this is releasing? I think if we look at their past cycle of development, you would say every other year or every second or third year they'd be releasing a new game. Obviously that hasn't happened, and they've just continued with a singular platform for a number of years. At this point, I would have said, you're looking at probably like 4 or 5 years away, which is why I think in the title I'll add GTA 6 launching 2025 or something like that. I think that's a probably realistic time frame of when you're going to see that game. I think if you think back to when GTA 5 was announced and launched, there was about a 12-month lead-in with a tease, the game revealing it, maybe with like a logo treatment. Then I think a few months later they do a trailer, then they do the trailers in the lead up to launch. And you saw actually something very similar for Red Dead as well. They started with a tease, I think, on Twitter before they finally did the logo, before they revealed it existed, before they did a trailer, and then a date. And then those 12 months coming into launch, I think Red Dead was delayed, I believe, but coming into launch, they had a bunch of content dropping every other week or every other month, showing off different features of the game, the online, the single player, the story, blah, blah, blah. And that was their way of sort of showcasing and marketing the game all the way through to the launch. And I think we'll probably see something similar from GTA 6. I don't see why they would change up their marketing strategy, which they've done. And they've done this for years. This was Grand Theft Auto 5, LA Noire, the original Red Dead 2, Mad Max. They all did a very similar thing in terms of announcement, tease, release, and then a marketing campaign into launch, which is, you know, pretty standard for these guys. So I'd say this is not too different. The thing is, depending on how GTA 5 does on the PlayStation 5 though, will probably determine whether or not we actually get a Grand Theft Auto 6 sooner rather than later. I have no doubt in my mind that they're working on it and they're well underway developing this thing. At this point, I would imagine they've probably been developing it since Red Dead came out. So they've probably put a good couple of years of development into this thing. There's probably still a few more years of development to go. You know, when a game is this big in scope and scale, it's going to take time. But if everyone continues playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and that's the double-edged sword, and rebuying Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 5, playing that online, it prolongs the life of GTA 5 even longer. And having it released on a new platform like this actually may push Grand Theft Auto 6's release date out even further than what it already is, which is kind of funny to think about. But it's almost like we want to encourage them to make more games, so we play the game or buy more of the game, which normally is a way of signifying to a developer to make more of it. But in this instance, we kind of have to do the opposite and refrain from playing it and buying it. Basically, I'm saying it's all of your fault. Anyone who's still playing Grand Theft Auto Online in 2021, it's your fault that we don't have GTA 6. It's a really strange one. Not a lot of game development cycles go like this. And I know I've been kind of reductive saying, hey, it was made 12 years ago. And honestly, it wasn't, obviously. Grand Theft Auto Online is being updated constantly. The fundamentals were created 12 years ago, but the online platform that exists now is vastly different to what it was when it launched, and even what it was 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. Obviously, this has been, they've put an enormous amount of development into updating this and keeping it interesting, adding new content, new events and challenges and things like that. And as a result, it's obviously super, super popular and successful because they're constantly iterating and developing on it. I'm curious to see what they end up doing with the online platform moving to Grand Theft Auto 6. Do they create a new map and a new city for GTA 6 for the offline component and then merge the two online components? Maybe they have a Vice City, Miami style Grand Theft Auto 6, but then Grand Theft Auto Online's Los Santos kind of gets melded into this giant mega map with these two enormous cities, and maybe you have to travel between them or something like that. I feel like they'll find a way to migrate the two together to encourage people who are playing GTA 5 to switch over to 6, and so that people can continue to play in this singular ecosystem. No one really does that. You know, COD releases games every year and they don't do it, but I think it's something Rockstar would do. I just have a feeling, based on the way that they've supported this, they've probably made a name for themselves as being one of the best live service, post-support developers, studios, teams that has ever existed. Pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting conversation to have about GTA 6. Look, I'm going to put a prediction here on the ground now. 2025, I think at the very earliest is when you're going to see Grand Theft Auto 6, but I'm curious to get everyone else's predictions in the comments down below. Let me know when you think this one's coming out. If you've just stumbled upon this video and you aren't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out. Leave a like on this video as well if you enjoyed. And yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6, we'll see you in 2025. Patrons, thank you so very much for each and every one of your generosity this month. You'll be seeing your names coming up here on the right hand side if you're a Patreon or a channel member on the YouTube channel this month. If you want to support me, if you do decide you want to support me further and help keep this channel's lights on, link in the description down below to become a Patreon, or you can click on the join button down below next to the subscribe button to become a channel member. Thanks, you guys, you're all legends.